Hey, this is going to work because we have got a right treat for you tonight and I'm buzzing about it. We've been messing with technology, trying to get it worked. Babe, can you share this video? I'm just getting James to share this to my business page because I'm not on my business page. Normally over on my page, aren't I, on a Monday night, and we had to have a bit of a plot twist because of technology. So I'm here. Still soul-centered millionaire TV as normal, episode 31. But I've got a treat for you. Good evening, and I can see the comments. Oh my God, today's a good day. How you doing, Kerry? Hey, Claire. Hey, Joanne, lovely. When you're in, let me know you're in by saying hello, and let me know you're watching live by saying I'm live. If you're watching on replay though, let me know that too by saying, hey, I'm on replay, because it's really nice to know who's catching up. And as you've got questions, type them whether you're watching on replay or live, because me and Tish, who's our guest tonight, and I'm going to get her on in a second, can always come back and comment and answer your questions even if you're not with us live. Hey Jen, how you doing? Probably going to take a few people a while to figure out where I am tonight, because obviously I'm not normally on this page. I had a bit of a drama with tech, so Tish and I have been, hey Carol, hey Katie, hey Jen, we've been doing a couple of test runs to make this interview happen. I really wanted you to hear from Tish, and I've got some interviews lined up over the next 4 weeks, and I'll tell you more about that in a second, but I really wanted you to hear from Tish, and it just wasn't working on pages. It just was not working. So annoying. So I thought, fuck it, I'm just gonna have to do it here, because I don't want you to not hear from her. Hey, there she is. So I'm gonna bring Tish on in just a second. I just want to start by setting the scene for what we're doing and how it's going to benefit you. So on the run up to Christmas, I wanted to put something really special together for you guys to help you. I prefer this because it tells you, oh, okay, that's interesting. So I'm going to start looking at the comments now. To help you to have the best 2020 ever. Your biggest year ever in terms of growth, in terms of money, in terms of success, in terms of impact in your business. 2020 can absolutely be your year. And the next, I think 5 or 6 weeks actually, is about setting you up for success. I believe, as you know already, if you've been following me for a while, that anybody's got $1 million business inside of them. And I believe that you've got a message to share that can be monetized next year and create $1 million business next year. Everybody that's listening to this, that's possible for you. I know, because I did it in my first year. I know it's true. But I wanted you to hear from people over the next 6 weeks that have monetized their message and taken their skill set, their knowledge, their experience in other areas and made it a profitable business. And all of them are people that I've worked with, ex-clients. I don't like the word ex because it's like when you call ex-boyfriend, it's always got a negative connotation. I love these ladies, so we don't want it to have a negative connotation. But we're starting today with Tish, so I'm going to get her on. You're going to love what she's going to share. Let's add Tish. Oh God, please say it's going to work. I will be, there you are, thank God for that.
Hello.
Looking glam as always.
Thank you. You don't look too bad yourself, as always.
Oh, thanks, feeling the love already. So Tish, just going to introduce you to everybody. I don't know if you guys already know Tish. Some of you probably already follow her work, and I've got the exact word in here because I didn't want to get it wrong, but Tish is an anxiety management coach to professional men and women. So you work with both, don't you, Tish? Work men and women.
I do, yeah.
And you're from fear to freedom way of coaching helps, because I think that's brilliant way of putting it, actually, because fear is the number one thing, isn't it, that keeps people stuck.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, fear is epidemic, and it's normal and natural as well. And so, that's why I help people to move from that to freedom. Although you can never eradicate all fears, obviously, because fear is normal.
Yeah, and actually it serves us to a degree, doesn't it, to have some fear, because we'd all be walking out from cars, wouldn't we, and like
yeah, it's a survival mechanism, but really, obviously, to overcome fears that are stopping them in their lives or in their careers or in their businesses.
Yeah, and that's your big mission, isn't it, to help people move out of fear, and you help them to draw on their own inner resources, don't you? Because it's not something outside of yourself, is it? It's an increased sense of self-awareness and understanding what they can do themselves to get better at managing, stop you, and it doesn't hold you back, and it doesn't see you not achieving the things that you could achieve.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. It is. It's all insular, really, because you know, people see the sort of what we call the activating event, so the outside event that causes the fear, if you like, or well, it doesn't cause the fear, but the activating event causes a person to respond in a certain way, and sometimes that's with fear. And you know, as I say, it's a very normal thing, but it is something that you have to um, try to manage yourself. It's not something that you can just pick a quick fix for either. You know, it has to be worked through, and it is normal. So you have to pick which fears you want to get over. And of course, if something is stopping you in your business or your career or your life, then and it's having a real detrimental effect, it's stopping you from reaching your dreams, then obviously it's something you need to tackle.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So you help them navigate that process, I suppose, in terms of like what fear is healthy fear that we need to channel, what fear do we need to try and shift and reframe so that it doesn't come up for you in a way that's harmful to your success. What sort of things, just to give everybody an idea, what sort of things do you, because the thing that I always find fascinating with professional, because we have a very similar client, don't we? We just help them in different ways. And
Yeah.
I always find it really fascinating that the fear that the way the fear manifests in the behavior or the thought process or the procrastination or the self-sabotage, it's not always obvious that it's a fear, and actually the person carrying that fear isn't always aware that that's what's going on for them. They're just reacting.
Absolutely. And because it's become so normal for people to be in fear or in anxiety, they don't actually realize that they've got as many fears as they have. But when you start to unpack it and unpack their thought processes, they begin to realize, actually, I've always thought that way. And they've not attached the word anxiety or fear to it, you know. So some of the things that people, you know, may come to me with or have come to me in the past, had a lady who had a fear that she was in the process of creating her business, but she had a real fear that she was going to give up. She felt she was going to give up and she was desperate not to give up. So that was her fear. So we unpacked all of that and she carried on, and she's actually quite successful now, which is great to see. I've had a lady come to me who has a fear of putting boundaries in with other people, because she was a yes person and she couldn't say no. And so that's a big one, you know, having to say to people, you know, I can't do this for you now because I'm doing this, or just with self-care. I've had a lady who had, and you'll know this, a fear of not having any money. She constantly ruminated and worried about the fact that she'll never have any money. So what's the point of her continuing with trying to create a business if she's, you know, she's never had any money? So why would, you know, and that's something that you look at as well, isn't it? So there's lots of different things that you know, there's 1,000 billion different fears that people can have, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And they all manifest, sometimes the same fear manifests in different ways with different people, doesn't it? So it
Yeah.
might come out in a different behaviour. Or it's really fascinating that you said about the lady that had a fear of quitting. So it's a little bit like driving a motorcycle and saying, I don't want to fall down the aisle, I don't want to fall down the aisle, and you're almost veering into it, aren't you? Because you're like focusing on it. And it's the same, isn't it? With I don't want to quit, I don't want to quit, I don't want to quit, and suddenly you're quitting.
Yeah, yeah. And you know, a lot of these fears are irrational, but they, you know, for the person experiencing it, it's not irrational. It's really real, you know, and it's really important that myself as a coach really respect that for them, it's really real, you know, and the images that the mind is creating about what can go wrong in whatever the fear is, it's really frightening and really scary. And so it's really a case of helping them to manage it rather than eradicate it. Sometimes fear and anxiety can be eradicated, but you know, the reality is that really we've just got to manage our anxieties, so that we can live as much distress free as possible so that we can reach the goals or targets that we're trying to get to.
I'd say it's probably the number one, which is why I was really keen to bring you on tonight. I would say from all the people that I've worked with and all the patterns that I've looked at, I would say it's the number one thing that causes the most damage in terms of people filling their full potential in business is the fears, and a lot of it isn't even real. It's
No.
just total made up stuff.
Yeah,
That
yeah, I
then
like it. That's right. I liken it to a movie that you're playing in your head. You know, what movie you're playing in your head, and helping the clients to recognise that it is just a movie. It doesn't feel like a movie though to them, because it's actually creating real sensations in the body, real feelings, which the mind, you know, can trick you into believing are real. But actually, when you work through that anxiety or work through the fear and get to the other side, you know, 9 times out of 10, the clients will realise that, what was I actually worried about, you know? But it's getting you through that, because when anxiety gets a grip or fear gets a grip, it can be totally paralysing. So it's being able to help them sit with that and work through that.
Yeah. And what's amazing, and I know what you're also here to talk about tonight, is you're building this business and helping people as well as developing, you know, the life that you wanted, that wasn't possible just a few years ago for you, because you hadn't connected the dots, had you, in kind of like how you could use your skills to do what you're doing now, which sounds bonkers because you're so fucking good at it. It's like you were born to do it. But if we go back to 2017, when you first reached out and said, Michelle, can we talk about how we could work together? And I think your wording was something like, I think I might be able to start a business here, but there was a lot of kind of second guessing. And just let's just go back and remember that for a minute, because I just know there's going to be so many people on the call tonight and that watch on replay that are sat there thinking, yeah, but Tish is already awesome, look at her, like that's no wonder that she can run a successful business doing this, because she knows what she's doing, she's got a skill. But was there not a point where you thought, well, what business can I create?
Yes. And you will know probably the first time that, it wasn't the first time we spoke, but the first time that we spoke about me creating a business, my lack of confidence was chronic. At that time, I felt useless. I had been, and as you know, I'd been a therapist in the past. My second career, because it was a second career for me, was as a therapist. I worked for the NHS, the British NHS. I worked for a UK charity called Action for Children. I was already a qualified counsellor. I was working as a psychological practitioner. But then I resigned from that job in January 2016 for various reasons. One being stress and burnout, and the other being that my fiance at the time was moving from the UK over to Abu Dhabi, and everything came at once, and I just literally just sort of fell apart, you know. And I'm not ashamed to say that, because we do at times, you know, we do. And so at that time, those months, I think we spoke in the August, and from the January to the August, I just felt useless. I felt worthless. I didn't know whether I was coming or going. And I sort of, at first I'm not going to be in therapy anymore. It's not what I'm going to do. I want to do something completely different. But as the months went by, I really felt like I had a lot to offer. I had all this knowledge, all of these skills. You know, I had, so at that point, 7 years worth of knowledge and skills, and also personal experience. As you know, we've all got a story, haven't we? And I've got a story. And I just thought, you know, like, there must be a way I can do this. And then obviously, you know, I came to you and said, how can I do this? Can I do this? And you were like, absolutely, you could do this. And I was, oh, really, really, I was so scared. And it just looked like a huge mountain to climb. But, you know, you did inspire me so much. You were so supportive. And you just released your book then, Miss Moneybags.
Yeah,
And I'd always said that I would love to release a book, and you were like, do it. I was like, just do it. Yeah, why just do it? And I was like, oh. So, you know, I set to work and I actually wrote the book first, you know, really before I created the business. So I wrote the book and then I created the business with obviously your help, which I'll always be grateful for. So yeah, at the beginning it was just, can I really do this? But then I think what has to come into play is self-belief. And I know you talk about this a lot. Um, I didn't know how I was going to do it, and I trusted you implicitly with that. But I did deep down, I believed that I could, because I've done other things in my life. I've overcome things in my life. I've achieved things in my life that I never thought I would. So I had a degree of self-belief, and I thought if I just do what you say and really put my head down and work, you know, and really learn about what I'm doing, then it'll all be okay. And it was.
Yeah,
So
and
yeah.
now best-selling author as well. You can add that to your list of achievements, which is amazing. Um, and I think one of the things you said there that really stands out to me is that it was that feeling that I might not know how, but there's something inside me that's saying that I can do this, and that I'm meant for more than what I'm currently seeing in my life, and what I'm currently achieving. And
Mm.
I think that's kind of the start of everything, isn't it? That stirring, that kind of, that won't go away no matter how much you try and
Yeah.
shut it up. It's like,
Yeah.
you know, I
I
need
mean,
more.
it's got to start with desire, and you have, you know, people talk about the word aligned all the time, don't they? You have to be aligned with what you know you can do well.
Yeah,
Because if you just pluck something out of the air, well, I think I'll be a business coach, but you've got no experience in business. You know, I think I'll be a body transformational coach, but you know, you haven't got any experience transforming your own body.
yeah,
You know, it's something you've got to be aligned in. And thankfully, I had these skills and knowledge, and I'm always learning. I'm still learning now. I'm still doing courses. I read avidly. You know, you know, it has to be a almost like a calling, almost
exactly the
it
right
has
word.
to be like your life's work, doesn't it? You have to make it that to be able to get through the times which can be quite difficult, the hurdles, you know. So
Yeah,
but having that belief and think, well, actually I've got this knowledge and I've got these skills, and so all I need to do now is just learn how to put that online, you know.
yeah, yeah. And I believe everybody has that. Everybody has, you know, a series of events, experiences, challenges, even that at some point make them who they are, but also make them equipped to solve somebody else's problem. I call it profitable problem solving. And you took all of your, some of it quite personal stuff as well. It's not all about academic achievement for you, is it? Or it's not all about, you know, the work that you've done. Some of it's about life experience and going through shit, and you
Mm.
drawing on that to help somebody else that hasn't had that experience, for you to be able to support them through.
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously when you've had personal experience of adversity, it gives you a great empathy with the clients. You know, it's there's people will come to me with things that I can really empathise with, and so. But saying that, the way that I got through things isn't necessarily the way that they're going to get through things. You know, so obviously it has to be bespoke for them. But it's funny that you say about, you know, everybody's got this inside them, because I was doing a bit of Googling earlier about, because obviously I know that your message is that everybody's got $1 million message inside of them.
Yeah.
In this world, there's 7.7 billion people in this world. And a quarter of them are under 18, so we'll discount them for now. If you think just over 5 billion people, if you've got the right message that relates to, you know, even a fraction of 5 billion people, if you've got a profitable problem solving product, if you like, or service, and you can market it to the masses, you know, you will accrue wealth. You know, you've just got to have the right message. You've got to be able to relate it, communicate it well, but you've also got to have the right strategy of how to get yourself in front of people so that they know what your product or service is. You know,
And
there's so many people in the world.
yeah, and it really is as simple as that. And I think the first challenge is establishing what is my message, what is the problem I can solve, and that can be a bit of a process, but albeit a short one, when you know sort of how to dig in and ask the right questions. And it can't, I mean, let's face it, it's never been easier. I'm not saying it's easy, because we both know it's not easy. There are moments where it brings you to your knees,
Yeah.
but it's never been easier to tap into that market that you decide to tap into. I mean, it's literally in the palm of our hands now. It's on a mobile
Yeah.
phone. You know, you can be
Yeah,
anywhere.
that's right.
And
And
that's,
the
I mean,
world is such a small
you've
place,
moved
isn't
as
it?
well, haven't you? And you've moved country and took your business with you. You moved to Abu Dhabi, didn't you? How long ago now?
Just a year and 2 months ago. Yeah, I moved over to the Middle East. Yeah, yeah. And so that's the thing
So
with
like,
obviously having an online business, you can take it anywhere.
yeah, absolutely. There's no moving office or, having to re-establish yourself in a brand new community and re-establish your authority in a new community, because you created online and it moves with you wherever you are. And I know for me, that was really attractive, because I wanted to travel ultimately, and I wanted to live a
Mm.
lifestyle that the UK alone couldn't give me. And I think you're having a taste of that now, aren't you? And
Yeah, I'm very lucky and I'm very blessed. You know, that Abu Dhabi is a wonderful place. It's always sunny. Me and my husband have a joke every morning. So we open the curtains and I say, "It looks sunny today," and he says, "Do you think it might last?" And I go, "I think it might last." And you know,
I
every
love that.
day it's sort of like, wow, you know, it's sunny. And so I understand. I am very blessed, and I know there's a lot of people that don't have that. um but it's something that I always wanted as a younger person. I always wanted to. I don't do well in the UK climate, especially in the winter. The seasons do affect me, the winter season, and so being in that climate where there is sunshine and I get, enough vitamin D is good for my well-being. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's great.
And what would you say if there's someone listening tonight that sat there thinking, either I want to create a business but I feel like I've got nothing to offer, or I kind of know what kind of business I could create but I don't know where to start. Like, what would be your pearls of wisdom, having been sat where they are and then where you are today, and how much growth you've been through between now and then? Because you think about 2017, August 2017, it's no time at all, is it? Like, it's no time at
No,
all, not in the business sense.
no, I think is find your courage to start. um because without that you don't have anything really. You've got to bat away the fears every time your brain starts to talk. What would they say? You're no good. What will people think? Can I do this? I haven't got the experience. You've got to bat away everything every single time without fail. You've got to recognize those thoughts first, and then you've got to keep batting them away. Find your courage, and then commit. And commitment, we can sort of band around this word commitment, but actually when you are committed to something, it means seeing it through to the end. And there's a lot of people who will start with good intentions, but for whatever reason they'll give up. And commitment means having the failures, but then obviously learning from them and getting up, licking your wounds for a bit and then getting up and carrying on. I liken it to a maze. So for me, it's like a maze. And I say that I use this sort of metaphor for my clients as well. If they're trying to reach a certain place, metaphorically, it's that when you have a goal, it's like a maze. So you'll go through and then you'll hit a hedge and you think, well, that's not the way to it. And so you backtrack and then you sort of have a think about it and go, right, I'll try that way now. And that's the way I've done everything through my life, is that when I know I want something, If I don't get it first time, I'll sort of step back. I'll have some time out, and then I'll go a different way. And my sort of mantra is, there has to be a way to get to this. There has to be. And I think, you know, if you're committed and you've got the courage to keep going, eventually you will find your way through the maze. It may take time. Patience is a massive one. You know, not wanting everything yesterday. I think Gary Vee talks about it a lot, you know, Gary Vaynerchuk, you know, you've got time. You've got time, you know, why do you need everything yesterday? Just take your time, do the work, have the patience, and just commit.
Yeah. I think patience, the courage, the commitment, the patience, those three things, those pearls of wisdom, yes, yes, and yes, because without that, you can have the best strategy in the world. You can, you know, have the best business idea with the best business plan. But if you don't have the courage to execute it, the commitment to see it through when it gets really hard, and the patience and perseverance to keep changing and tweaking when things aren't working, then it never amounts to much, does it, without those things. So amazing advice.
The sort of personal character traits that you've got to foster, you've got to develop them. You know, if you don't have them already, you've got to learn how to develop those three things. You know, if you want to get to your goals, whatever those goals are. So.
And if some place where they're really stuck in fear and anxiety and it's affecting their professional progression in any capacity, and they recognise they need some help, just because I know there's going to be people thinking this, how would they best contact you, Tish? What's the best way to go about it?
All the social media platforms they can find me on. Personal page, Facebook. I've got a business page, Tish Hawken Anxiety Management. You can go to Instagram, Tish Hawken Anxiety Management. You can go to my website, tishhawken.com. You can go to Twitter at bestlife25, and you can go to LinkedIn as well. So Tish Hawken.
She's fucking visible. There's another.
I am. Yeah, I'm annoyingly visible.
Amazing. So we are right now enrolling into, as you know, the Wealth Accelerator for 2020. So I don't know what you think about this, but this time of year for me, I think it's really funny because it's November and I was planning 2020 last month. So because I know that the work I do in this last quarter will depend on how I start 2020 and then what happens in the back end of next year. So I know there's going to be people on the call that are just like that and think in that way. And then there's going to be people that think, I'll think about 2020 when it's 2020. You know, all the New Year's resolutions that start being made on the 1st of January. And the reason we're talking about 2020 enrolments into the accelerator now, which is the program that you went through, isn't it? Is because we need to be ready to hit the ground running in 2020 with goals in place and the action laid out in front of you, so you know why it's going to be different. Because there's no point in saying it's going to be different, that's going to be my year, without there being some really clear action to back up the talk. So, and I appreciate I'm putting you on the spot here a little bit because you can only say good shit to my face, but
I'm a Scouser, I can say whatever I like.
It's very true. But really unfiltered, and I know you're like that anyway, but really unfiltered and honestly, because there's no point. I'm going to say to anybody that's watching this now, if you want to go on the same journey that Tish has been on in terms of just seed of an idea or struggling business to total clarity and really stepping into your own message and making it profitable, you can do that in the accelerator next year, and we're having conversations about that now. However, I'm going to ask Tish to share with you just for a couple of minutes what that means and what she'd say to someone going in terms of advice, because it's not for everybody. And I do feel like, you've got to be, those three things that you shared, you've got to be ready to take action with courage. You've got to be prepared to really commit on a level you never have before. And you've got to be really patient and know that it's not going to happen overnight. It's not a magic bullet. And I think you put it perfectly in those three things. But what else would you add to that if someone was thinking, right, do I apply or do I not?
Well, like I said before, if you've got doubts, you need to bat them away. Basically, you need to bat them away. If you're thinking about going into something like that, you have to remember why you're doing it. And when you put things off, even though we do have time, we have time to create things. When you put things off, what happens is a year down the line or 5 years down the line, you're still in the same place as you were because you're still thinking about it. If you know in your heart of hearts that you've got a real passion, that there's a business that you want to create, you're really passionate about it, you know you're good at what you do, you just have to step off that cliff. You just have to. I mean,
And
I
it feels
remember
stepping off the cliff,
yeah,
doesn't it?
it is, because it's, again, it's the fear of the unknown. It's a fear of how much work is it going to be. Guess what? It's going to be work. You're going to work, and you're going to have to show up, and you're going to have to be accountable. You're going to have to put hours in. You're going to have to decide how many hours you can put in, obviously. But, you cannot be wishy-washy when you're taking something on like this. If you are serious about being a businesswoman or a businessman, and overcoming those fears, your desire has to be greater than the fear. It has to be greater than the fear. And if it's not greater than the fear yet, then make steps towards it so that it becomes greater than the fear. And just imagine yourself not doing what it is you want to do eventually in 5-10 years time. How much are you going to regret that? Is it, you're going to regret it, aren't you? You're going to look back and go, like, I should have done that, and I'm still in the same place where I was 5 years ago. So you have to find grit, and that's one of my things: resilience and grit. You have to find the grit to do it. You have to step out in faith in yourself more than anything, and be prepared to work for it.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the fact that you've highlighted it with, you've not just said, do it, it's amazing. You're saying, do it if you're serious. If you're not, don't bother.
Yeah,
Because
because you're wasting everybody's time, aren't you?
yeah. And it's not a case of, what we're not saying, guys, is, and there's a link in above this video to apply for a call with me personally to talk about whether it's a fit before, but what we're not saying is do this and be like Tish, because I haven't got a magic wand, and I'm certainly not going to be able to hand you what Tish has created, because Tish has created it. And I think that's the key thing here. Like, what we provide you with, I suppose, is the sat nav, because we show you the direction that you can go in. But how many times have you reached a destination by staring at a sat nav in your house without actually getting in the car and putting your foot on the pedal? Like, never. So that part needs to be present for you to, get any sort of level of success in 2020. So, and I think that's what Tish is saying here as well, is like, just apply if you're serious, and if you're not, don't bother, because until you're in that place where you're like, I've found the courage to commit and I'm ready for that, nothing's going to change anyway, is it?
No, and it's like the old saying, isn't it? If you what's the saying? If you keep doing the same thing, you keep getting the same results. And if you want something to change in your life, and that goes for creating a business, it goes for overcoming fear. You've got to do something differently. It's all about the doing. It's not about the thinking. Although obviously our minds are incredibly important. The mind creates the thought and the idea, and then you've got to actually carry it out. You've got to actually do it.
Absolutely. I've loved having you on tonight, and I feel I don't know, it's quite surreal really, because I mean, it's only been 18 months. It's not even that, but the difference in kind of how your life's changed and what you've created and who you are, and it's phenomenal. And I don't have any right to I don't have a right to sit here feeling proud, because you've done it, but I do feel enormously proud. So
well, I thank you for having me on, Michelle. It was an absolute pleasure, and it's been a journey, as they say, and it still continues to be. So it's great, and good luck with everything you're doing as well. And not that you need it, because you don't.
Thank you so much. And guys, if you do feel like you're not at the stage where you're like, right, I'm ready for this with the accelerator, and you feel like you're in the place that Tish described at the beginning of the live, and a bit more stuck in fear and anxiety, and you know it's holding you back, then you're probably, you know, in a place where you're better suited to reaching out to Tish right now. And I definitely recommend you to do that. And anybody that knows me will know that I won't put somebody in front of you and put my hand on my heart and say this person can help you unless I know for certain that they can. So that's me putting total faith in Tish. So if you feel like you need a bit of help, she's the woman for the job. Thanks for coming on. I'll speak to you soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.